Level 64. First, we look at the sums. Sum of the columns is 48. The sum of the rows is 42. The difference is 6, which means that the question mark row has to have 6 more walls than the question mark columns. And this row can at most have 8 walls, which means these two in total can have at most 2 walls. And we see both of these columns need to have 1 wall each to separate these bombs. That means this row has to have 8 walls so we can fill it in. And these 2 columns can have no more walls because that would make the sums unequal. So we can fill them in with empty space. That lets us fill in these rows of 8. And that grays out this column. If we look at this row, it has 4 walls. If any of those walls are here, then one of the walls is here somewhere, and this whole area is blocked off. That means the walls in this row have to be here. We can fill in this row with walls. And now we have a similar situation here. By the same logic, the 4 walls in this row have to be here. And now this column is gray. And this row is gray. So you see that there's symmetry here. The configuration here is exactly the same as here. So if we can solve one, the other will be a mirror. So there are 5 walls here. That means that 2 of these will be walls. That means if any of these 3 are walls, then all of this is blocked off. That means none of these can be walls. Also, at least one of these will be a wall. That means neither of these can be a wall for the same reason. That means this has to be a wall. And this cannot be a wall since that would block off this. So the rest have to be walls here. And like I said, this is going to be a mirror. That means it's going to look like this. And there's our solution. Level 65, we have a new rule about letter bombs that don't have numbers, but they have letters. And so basically, it means number is unknown. Anyway, this column is gray. And now we see here we have a cluster of 3 bunnies. Probably have to be hit by this bomb. And we see the other Ys could possibly hit 3 bunnies. This one could as well. And yeah, if these bunnies are not hit by this bomb, then this bunny is not hit by anything. So that means this bomb has to hit them. And we see the other possibility is that the X's hit nothing. Remember, the 0 is also a possibility, but this one can hit max 3, so it has to be 3 bombs, or y equals 3. We see this bunny has to be hit by this bomb, so these have to be walls. There have to be walls here and here to separate bombs from targets they're not supposed to hit. That grays out this row. And we see this column is also gray. This needs to be a wall. Now this row is gray. This bomb cannot hit these two. Can hit this one and this one, but he needs one more target, so he has to hit this. This has to be a wall. This has to be a wall. And since this bomb is hitting this bunny, it can't hit this. Since we've established that X is 1. This has to be a wall. The wall in this column has to be here or here. Which means this is not a wall. And these are not walls. So this bomb hits this bunny. And there has to be a wall here. There has to be one here. So then this bunny has to be hit by this bomb. And there has to be a wall here. Also, there has to be a wall here. So now these two columns here are gray. This bomb needs one more target. And conveniently, this row is gray. So is this one. The final bunny has to be hit by this bomb. And that necessitates a wall here, graying out the row. These columns are gray. So is this one. There has to be a wall here. Now this is gray. This too. Has to be a wall here. Now this is gray. So this column and the final space has to be a wall. Level 66 introduces a new rule. Letter bombs cannot have identical value to any other letter or number bombs. So we have bombs with 2 and 3 on them, which means these cannot have 2 or 3. So that means there can't be walls here or here, because then one of these would hit 2 bombs. So that means these are not walls. That lets us fill in this column, which must have 8 walls. And now this row is gray. So now we have to fill in this column. And this row is gray. Now we can fill in this column. And this row is gray. And we continue by filling in this column and this one. Now there needs to be 4 walls in this column, which means there's going to be a block here. And this bomb needs a path somewhere to the crystal. And that path can't be here. There are too many walls in this column, so it has to be here. And that means this bomb is going to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets. And it has to be blocked off from this bomb, which we then see hits 1 target. And also, there can't be any empty spaces with no walls that are not connected to the crystal, so at least these 3 have to be walls. Now, these 3 rows have 9 walls each. That means the only possible path from this side of the board to the bottom is a vertical line. Can't be any diagonals because that would wall off these areas. And we see that this column only has one wall, which means these three cannot be walls, since at least one of them, well, at least two of them have to be not walls. And so that means none of them can be walls. That lets us fill in these rows. And there has to be a path here and a path here. That means we can fill in this row. Now this column is gray. This can't be a wall. And so the wall on this column must be here. Now this column is gray. And this row needs two more walls. Level 67. These rows are gray. Now there are 6 bunnies. There are 6 bombs with X and 6 bombs with Y. That tells me X equals 0 or 1 and Y equals 1 or 0. In other words, either all the Y's are blocked off from bunnies or all the X's are blocked off from bunnies. Also, there must be walls between bombs. That means in these rows where there are only one wall, that wall has to separate the bombs. So it can't be on the outside. So not here, and here, not here, not here, and not here. And I can see that this bomb needs to be blocked off from that bomb. Same with this. The wall is here, then that bomb is blocked from that bunny. The wall is here, that bomb is blocked from that bunny. That means that the X must equal 0, which means Y equals 1. Which means all the bunnies have to be hit by the Y bombs. Also, these bombs must be blocked from each other, and the X's must be blocked from the bunnies. So this must be a wall that grays out this row and this column. This must be a wall graying out this column. This must be a wall, and this must be a wall. Now this column is gray. This must be a wall. Now this is gray, and this must be a wall, and this is gray. We can fill in this row. Also, there must be a bomb here to separate these, a wall to separate these bombs. Now these are gray. And there are 3 walls left to place in this row, here, here, and here. Level 68. The total number of bunnies is 10. We have 4 X's and 2 Y's. So if either are 0, let's say, well, Y can't be 0 because 10 is not divisible by 4. So X is non-zero, has to hit either 2 or 3 or 5, but let's see, 4 times 3 is 12, which is higher than 10. So X can only hit 2 bunnies, since 5 or 3 even would be too much. Okay, so then 4x is 8, which means we have 2 bunnies left. And there are 2 y's, so y must equal 1. And this y bomb must hit this bunny and nothing else. So this is a wall. And that lets us fill out this column with walls. Let's see, this x has to hit 2 bunnies, which must be these 2. This y must hit 1, which has to be this one. This bunny can only be hit by this, and this one only by this. Now this row has 9 walls, which we can fill in like that. There needs to be a path for the crystal, both down here and here. These cannot be walls. There needs to be a wall here. Now this bunny can only be hit by this bomb, which means the final bunny has to be hit by this bomb. And now there has to be walls here and here. So now this row is gray, this column is gray, and so is this one. Now the walls on this row have to be here and here. And on the top row, 5 walls total. These cannot be walls. That would ruin the path, which means these have to be walls. This column has 6 walls. This row has 2 walls. And now this can't be a wall, because that would make a diagonal wall here. That means we can fill in this column with walls. This cannot be a wall, because this would stand alone. And that lets us fill in this column with walls. This row is gray. This row needs 1 more wall. This column is gray. This row has 2 more walls. Now these columns are gray. Needs to be 1 more wall in this row and 1 more in this row. Level 69. Nice. First off, this bomb has to be blocked off from that bomb. So this column is gray now. And we see x is at least 3. Can it be more? But if x is 4, then 2x is 8. 15 minus 8 is 7. And 3y plus 3z has to equal 7. But that's not possible. So x must be 3. And that tells me that this x has to hit these 2, has to be blocked off from this z. Also, let's see, 15 minus 6 equals 9. And we need to block here. So 3y plus 3z has to equal 9. And none of them can be 3. So the only option then is that y or z equals 1 and the other equals 2. Okay, so neither can be 0, neither can be 3. So z has to be at least 1. That means this has to hit this bunny. That means y can't hit more than 1 target. So y has to equal 1. That tells me that z has to equal 2. just to double check our equation. 2 times 3, that's 6. 3 times 1, that's 3. And 3 times 2 is 6. So what is that? That's 6 plus 6 plus 3 equals 15. So that works out. Okay. So this bomb has to be blocked off from this bunny. This bomb has to be blocked off from the crystal. Now this column is gray. And there has to be a wall here. And there has to be a wall here. This bunny has to be hit by this, which needs one more target, which has to be this. This bomb can only hit this bunny. This bomb needs to be blocked off here and needs to hit one bunny, which is here. And now this column is gray. And the final 2 bunnies need to be hit by this bomb. We need a wall right here. There's one more wall in this row. The remaining wall on this row has to be one of these 2, ergo not here. We can't have a wall here. And one of these 4 spaces has to be empty, which means this has to be a wall. This has to be a wall. Now this column is gray. This bomb needs to be blocked from this crystal. And now this is gray. So there are 4 walls total in this row, 2 total in this row. So there's going to be at least 1 wall here and 1 wall here. So that is a wall off here. To separate the zones belonging to this crystal and this one, there needs to be a wall somewhere here. As we can see, there are only 1 wall in each of these rows. And those walls have to be somewhere here. In addition, there needs to be a wall here to separate the zones. And that leaves this column gray. And then we can see we need walls here to separate. So we must have a wall here. Now this is gray. So one of these 2 is a wall. So we could have a wall like this or a diagonal. And that tells me this cannot be a wall and not this or this. This row has 2 more walls. This cannot be a wall because that means these would be walls and this would be blocked off. So this has to be a wall. Now this is gray. That means we need to have a wall here. Now this is gray. There needs to be a wall between this bomb and this bunny. So now this is gray and the wall here has to be there. This column is gray, which means the wall in this row has to be here. And there's 1 space left, which has to be a wall.